And I was explaining in that video how in Hermes you are encouraged or kind of guided or somewhat forced into buying ancillary products. And you told me the most interesting thing. You sent me a whole load of links off Facebook, and you said that people are predominantly selling off Hermes things at a loss. If you take the Chanel Classic flap, they've had another price increase. Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I'm cold, which is why I'm wearing my jacket. I hope you don't mind. But let's talk about some fashion news. I've got so much I'm going to go through with you. Some quite interesting things from the new creative director of Valentino to H&M. Personally, I scratch my head at this. H&M want to be faster when it comes to fast fashion. I feel at the moment fast fashion is frowned upon to varying extents, and so their new strategy I'm surprised about that they're not going in a different direction, but we'll talk about that. And also slightly connected to that, we're going to talk about Preloved Sales, because you know I talk about Preloved a lot. I really like getting a bargain. I'm a very different person in how I shop to how I was 10 years ago. I remember 10 years ago, probably was 10 years ago, looking at Vestiaire Collective at vintage Chanel bags that were around about £800. I'm not joking, you know, the maxi ones with the big double C gold logos on the front. I remember looking at them going, yeah, they're nice, but it's like an old dusty old bag and I don't really want it. Now I look back and I wish I bought them because they are worth so much more now. And I think there is a massive kudos associated with not only buying something and having got a really good deal on it, but buying something that has a history that is slightly vintage or very vintage. I think there's something really cool about that. So listen to this. The Guardian, so I found this really interesting article on The Guardian, and I'm going to link to the article below. So if you want to read more, go and check out the description below. But The Guardian have said that Preloved Sales are set to take 10% of global fashion sales. So although The Guardian is a UK-based paper, this is globally we're talking about here. This is the globe over, so it doesn't matter where you live. Elements of this will apply to you and where you live. So here's a quote. Global sales of pre-owned clothes surged by 18% last year to $197 billion. That is £156 billion. And they're forecasted to reach $350 billion in 2028, according to a report by global data for resale specialist ThreadUp. The landmark is expected to be reached a year later than predicted, as global growth remains slightly behind previous estimates. So I would say that's probably to do with COVID. I know growth in the UK is like really down due to a whole number of things that are going on at the moment. But even when it comes to Preloved, if people have less money, they have less money, whether it's Preloved or whether they're going to the shop and buying from Zara or buying designer or whatever, you know. However, listen to this bit. The US second-hand market grew 7 times faster than overall fashion retail, where sales were actually flat in 2023 from a year earlier. So overall fashion retail in the US, sales were flat. But when it comes to Preloved, sales were on the up. So here's kind of my thoughts about this. I think that Preloved has become something to brag about. It's become something cool. It's become something that has in recent years been driven a lot more by influencers. And actually there are some great influencers out there, and all they talk about is Preloved. I don't know how many of you watch the Monica Way. Monica is amazing. She's mainly on TikTok and Instagram, although she is on YouTube. But go and watch her because she does hauls where she finds and shows you amazing designer things that she's found in shops, including dupes. But like when I say dupes, I don't mean fakes. I mean things that look inspired by something else. I had one of you the other day saying to me, can you please do a review on your Cartier watch? I don't have a Cartier watch. That's a Seconda watch, which I saw and got via Monica because Monica showed it and showed how it looked like Cartier. And so even one of you kind of mistook that for something that it wasn't. But there's so many influencers out there doing this and making it cool. a kind of stat that I found that, again, I wasn't surprised by, but I thought was quite interesting, is that when it comes to the people that are buying Preloved, it's Gen Z and millennials, so people aged 12 to 43, who are the ones that are buying Preloved predominantly online, so on places like Vinted, on Depop, little bit of eBay, but mainly Depop and Vinted. And it's the older generations predominantly, not always the case, but it's the older generations who are predominantly going to Preloved charity shops as opposed to buying online. To break this down a little bit further, almost 2 in 5 people, that is 38% of consumers, say that they shop secondhand to afford higher end brands. Now, one of my Patreons the other day, hopefully you're watching and you hear this and you recognize this as being you, but one of my Patreons spoke to me about the Hermes lawsuit video I did. And I was explaining in that video how in Hermes you are encouraged or kind of guided or somewhat forced into buying ancillary products, so homewares, costume jewellery, shoes, ready to wear, silk scarves, in order to even qualify for a Birkin or a Kelly. And you told me the most interesting thing. You sent me a whole load of links off Facebook to different marketplace communities on there. And you said that people are predominantly selling off Hermes things at a loss. Like brand new things, sets of plates for the table, you know, Click H bracelets, whatever. You were telling me that there are massive bargains to be had. And we both got talking about it, and I was saying to you, I wonder how much of that is to do with people that really want these bags, mass buying things that they don't actually want and they probably don't have space for and they don't want it in their life. So they're just selling it off at a loss just to get rid of it, just to make some space, just to get a bit of that money back. And I think it says it all. There are deals to be had out there. If you take the Chanel classic flap, they've had another price increase. Thank you to Andrew who told me about this. This happened on the 27th of March. Their bags in the States, some of the classic flaps have gone up by $600. It's huge. It's always huge, but you know, that's pretty steep. However, if you go and look Preloved, I'm not even joking, you go and have a look Preloved, you can find classic flaps for a fraction of that price. You can get literal 40% discounts, and I'm not even talking about like the old vintage ones. There are deals to be had, and I think this is why so many people are looking at going Preloved, because it's cool. Cost of living crisis. People are sick of paying overs. People want a good deal now, and I think that's got a lot to do with it. So that's Preloved Sales. Now let's move on to H&M. So H&M have a new CEO called Daniel Erver, and he's looking to Zara for inspiration because of a couple of things. Well, one thing mainly. So he's looking to Zara in terms of where to take the brand. And he's also looking to move production for H&M to Turkey and Mexico in order to bring it closer to the markets of Europe and the US. In his first update as CEO, Erver said that producing more relevant clothing ranges and getting them into shops quickly will positively impact H&M's bottom line due to fewer write-downs related to unsold products, a problem that has long dogged H&M. The retailer is also continuing to cut overhead costs and is targeting an operation profit margin of 10% this fiscal year with 6.2% last year. H&M continues to face criticism over the group's fast fashion business model and its environmental impact. And this is why I was surprised about this story and surprised about the direction that H&M have gone in. If you listen to that quote, H&M, and I have noticed this, more so than Zara, from what I've noticed, H&M seem to have a problem when it comes to loads of stuff being left over and going on sale. In a way that Zara doesn't have so much. Zara still has these massive sales, but things seem to sell out more quickly, even than sale. Whereas you go into H&M and there's always racks and racks of the same item, stuff that didn't sell, and it looks like they're trying to get on top of that. But I don't know, it just interested me that in the article, which I will link to below, it does talk about them wanting to get on top of trends a lot more quickly, turn it around a lot more quickly, get those things out there in the shops. And to me, I find that confusing, because they do have this conscientious line, and it doesn't sound like that's the line that they're going to be focused on. They're really focused on the fast fashion element, getting that stuff out there. The next story, which I thought you might find interesting, is to do with Valentino and their new creative director. And I found this interesting because their last creative director had been in the job for 25 years, which is a huge amount of time. I do like Valentino, and I don't know how many of you agree or disagree. Either way, it's fine. But I feel like they could do with like a refresh. I think they've got some great stuff and some great designs, but for some reason when it comes to Valentino bags in particular, I don't feel like they hold their value very well. I don't feel as though they have got that iconic status, and I don't know why that is. And I'm wondering whether the new creative director, who has come from Gucci and is Alessandro Michele, I'm wondering whether he's going to be able to change that. Alessandro's got quite an interesting past. He has been at Gucci for a very long time, since 2002, but before that I think he worked in accessories for Fendi. So he's got a long history behind him. And as I mentioned, I am really interested to see what he does for the brand, how much he refreshes it, whether bags like the V-sling bag, whether they continue, or, you know, you do see with some creative directors that they like to wipe out what the previous creative director has brought in and put their own stamp on it. You do see that. You know, you saw it with Maria Grazia Chiuri when she joined Dior. A lot of, she did bring back bags from the Galliano era and beyond, but a lot of bags that came out were very much her style, her design. They had her stamp on it, and I actually think she's done amazing things for that brand. I think she joined Dior and she helped Dior find its way, and she's made it contemporary but still classic. It still has Dior at the heart of all of the designs, but it's fashionable, it's cool, it's contemporary, but it's still elegant. A lot of the stuff is still very elegant. And I wonder whether something similar is going to happen here with Alessandro when he gets his feet under the table at Valentino. Something you might not know, and this is a quote which I'm going to read out. I already knew this, but just to kind of bring you up to speed. In July of last year, so 2023, Kering revealed that it bought a 30% stake in Valentino for 1.7 billion euros in cash as part of a broader strategic partnership with the Qatari investment fund Mayhoola, which controls the couture brand. How many of you knew that? I found this quite interesting, actually. I found it interesting that they didn't buy more of a percentage. I don't know. Personally, that's how I personally felt about it. But it says here that Kering has the option to buy 100% of Valentino's capital by 2028, whilst Mayhoola could become a shareholder in Kering. The new luxury partners are expected to jointly explore further opportunities aligned with their respective strategies, including potential investments beyond fashion. And again, that's like a really interesting article that I found on WWD. I will link to that article below. That might be something that you're interested in reading more in. So there is just like a little bit of fashion news, a bit of things that are going on at the moment. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I will say there is a new channel on the way from me. It's going to be a little bit different to what I talk about here. I was really thinking about it, you know, and I thought, oh, do you know, if I start talking about this kind of content here, it could get watered down and confused. Whereas if I do it on a new channel, it will feel a lot more dedicated to what that type of content is. And I'll give you a hint. It's got nothing to do with cars, for any of you wondering, although that was another thing I was thinking about doing, a separate car channel. It's got nothing to do with cars, but it has got a lot to do with fashion. So as soon as that channel is up and running, I will let you know, and any of you who want to, you can go and subscribe to me over there and check out the kind of content I'll be doing there. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.